the college basketball with the NCAA tournament. North Carolina was pretty, anticlimactic, really.
Yeah, it's not a good final game.
Oh, God. What happened to Michigan? It seemed like they were sapped, actually.
I think that Michigan State was a great team in terms of they were team. Izzo did a really solid job with them. But in terms of athletic talent, North Carolina had the best team in the tournament. They had 4 guys that would have gone to the pros last year. Danny Green, Ellington, Lawson, and the big guy.
Hansborough.
Hansborough. And they all came back for one run, and Davis off the bench is tremendous. Reminds me a little bit of a young Sam Perkins.
Yeah, great comparison. Yeah.
And they have just great talent with a good coach, and nobody really touched them in the tournament. They blew everybody out. Yeah. And Michigan State in the championship game, I said to my kids, we were at the championship game, I said, don't fall behind 26-9 before the game. No matter what, they were down 24-9.
Right.
And you can't come back. They're not a team that can come back. They can't shoot the 3 that well.
Yeah.
You know.
And they're not a transition team.
Yeah. Right. They were better transition than we thought. So
some people, against
they
UConn,
weren't bad. You know, when Kayla gets the ball in the open court, they were pretty good. Their tempo doesn't have to be totally slow, but they can't fall behind against North Carolina.
And I wanted to ask you about the great coaches of this era in college basketball. You have Roy Williams and Tom Izzo, Jim Boeheim, Jim Calhoun, Mike Krzyzewski, Rick Pitino. Yes, I mean, have you ever seen like a collection of leadership that's been this great in a certain time period?
Well, it's kind of because the college coaches are making so much money today, and they get such credibility, notoriety, which is the negative side, and they also get, such coverage and the positive side too. They are the stars though.
Right.
Whether you like it or not, those coaches or Calipari, they're getting the attention. They're on the sidelines. Those are the guys. And it is a tremendous era. There have been, Bobby Knight, Dean Smith, Luke Carnesecca, John Thompson, Denny Crum. You can go
Eddie
back.
Sutton before the
Eddie
shadiness.
Sutton is there. The great John Wooden, who won 10 and 12 years at UCLA. We'll never see that again. Nolan Richardson. There have been great coaches all through the years. Jim Boeheim, by the way, underrated coach for what he's done. I think he won 20 games or more now 30 times.
Yeah, 30 years. That's
ridiculous.
Yeah, the only man never to do that.
Rolly Massimino won the title at Nova, so there have been great coaches over the years. But you're right. This is an era where we're seeing unbelievable coaches.
Yeah, and the young ones coming up.
They're getting
crazy.
younger.
Yeah. Billy Self is now up and
very
out.
good coach.
Jimmy Dixon, who
young
just
Matt
won.
Painter at Purdue is 38 years old, and he paid his dues. He's going to be a very good coach. Jay Wright at Villanova.
Another guy,
very good coach, and he's still, probably early 40s.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So these guys are young and they're good.
Yeah, definitely, that's for sure. And I wanted to ask, now, are you going to be covering Wimbledon at all? Because we know, because I know you've covered everything, but are you going to be at
I've never
Wimbledon?
been to Wimbledon.
You should definitely.
I have never covered Wimbledon. I wanted. It's one of the events I haven't done.
Wow.
I haven't done the Preakness, and I haven't done Wimbledon.
Okay, well, you gotta let me see.
I haven't done the Indy 500.
Oh, you haven't?
No.
Wow.
But I've covered 2 Super Bowls, just 2, believe it or not, 4 Olympics.
Yes.
10 Final Fours, 10 or 11 Final Fours, 10 All-Star games, probably 9 or 10 World Series, and the Belmont. I've done 2 Derbies, but those events I haven't done, and you always hope some point you can,
Yeah.
Stanley Cup Finals, NBA Finals,
everything.
Good stuff.
Wow.
Derby is an unbelievable event.
Because Wimbledon with last year with Federer and Nadal, we could see that again. I mean,
they could play that event forever. But right now, Federer's a little bit down.
Yeah.
Djokovic beat him. Federer actually broke his racket at the what was it, Sony Ericsson Open?
Yeah, Ericsson Open, right? In the semis, I think Djokovic beat him.
Broke,
and then
and he's not, since he got mono, he's not what he was. He was the dominant player of his time. It was like an aura of invincibility. Like when you think of Mike Tyson until that night in Tokyo when James Buster Douglas
was just pillar to post, beat him up.
It happens. And he lost that aura of invincibility somewhere along the line. And Nadal, who was just better, we thought, on clay, is better on all surfaces now. He's a remarkable athlete and a great role model. He flies in coach. He doesn't fly in first class. He lives with his mom. He is an unbelievable guy to look at and say, you want him as someone who is your role model.
That's right. That's right. Just a normal, everyday guy. Right.
Just a gentleman.
Right.
And that's what we want from some of these athletes. You know, when I look at Jeter over the years and the way he's handled himself in this city, a difficult city, and in the limelight, and under a microscope, and in the spotlight, he's got to deserve. You got to say he's handled himself brilliantly. And I have a great deal of admiration for an athlete who understands the responsibility today, in addition to being a great performer and a clutch performer and all that stuff. But that's something that he learned from his parents, and I think it's the upbringing. You look at a guy like David Wright, you know, his dad was in law enforcement. You look at Derek Jeter, his father was a doctor. And I think it all starts at the top. And that's where these guys get it from.
That's right.
And they should be commended for it. But the parents taught them the right stuff at a young age, and you never lose that.
Absolutely, and those are two guys to be able to represent the city, you know, the city of New York. And David Wright's, of course, going to have, you know, his career is flourishing, you know, as we speak.
6 full season, he's absolutely a pro.
Absolutely. Wow. And and one last question I wanted to talk about, since you cover Rutgers. C. Vivian Stringer. Just wonderful for her to be inducted.
She is elegant and eloquent. She does give long answers, but I love that about her. I've gone up to see Vivian Stringer a bunch of times. I said, you know, I've covered a lot of coaches over the years. I said, and when I think of Torrey and Riley and Pitino,
Tom Coughlin, of course,
and Tom Coughlin and Mike Keenan and Bill Parcells, I said, I put you in that same class. Yes, and I meant it. She's brought 3 different teams to the Final Four. She was the first woman or man to bring 3 different schools
before Pitino did
to the Final Four. You know, Iowa, Cheney, and Rutgers.
Right.
And she does it every year. They play tremendous defense, and I think what really separates C. Vivian Stringer from other coaches is she teaches the players about being a woman as well as being an athlete. You know, like, it's more important to her to teach the qualities about becoming a great citizen and becoming a great student. And she is a class act. And, you know, a lot of her players embody what she teaches.
That's right.
She's awesome.
That is for sure. And I know one of her players, the wife of Merton Hanks, Marva Hanks, played for her in Iowa. And I just always ask her to share some C. Vivian Stringer stories.